Okay, so have you ever had that thing where you're trying to learn something new?
Yeah.
Like maybe you're taking an online course or you're sitting through a presentation at work, and it seems like they're just throwing all these visuals at you and all this text at you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all supposed to be helpful, but sometimes it just ends up feeling like information overload.
It's too much.
Yeah. And I think we've all been there, right? It's like
Yeah,
you're just trying to keep up.
totally.
And that's actually kind of what we're digging into today in this deep dive.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So for this one, we've got a bunch of research that's looking into how the way information is presented visually alongside text can have a huge impact on how well you actually learn something.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. And the main thing that we're going to be exploring is centered around what's called the spatial contiguity principle.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. And sometimes it's also referred to as the spatial split attention effect.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And I know those sound a little bit jargony,
Yeah.
but
A little bit academic.
yeah, they are a little bit academic.
Yeah.
But the core idea is actually really pretty simple and pretty intuitive.
Okay.
Basically, it's this idea that uh, when the words explaining something are placed right next to the picture that they're describing, your brain seems to be able to grasp it a lot easier.
Yeah, like it just clicks.
Yeah, it just clicks. It's not having to work as hard to make the connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you think about it, it really is about minimizing that back and forth that your brain has to do.
Yeah.
Imagine like you're looking at a diagram and then you have to like look over here to a paragraph to read the explanation and then go back to the diagram and then go back to the paragraph. Your brain's doing all this extra work just to connect those two pieces of information.
Right.
When really it could be using that energy to just focus on understanding the content itself.
Totally.
So the spatial contiguity principle really is just saying, hey, let's just bring those related elements together so that it's a more seamless learning experience for your brain.
Right. Yeah, it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the thing is, this isn't just like a theory. We're not just kind of like, guessing here.
Absolutely not.
The sources that you've shared for this episode actually include a really, really thorough analysis, and it's called a meta-analysis.
Okay.
And what a meta-analysis is it looks at a whole bunch of studies that have already been done on a specific topic,
Okay.
and then kind of analyzes all those results together to see what the overall, kind of patterns are, what the overall evidence is saying.
Cool.
Yeah. So in this meta-analysis looked at a bunch of studies that specifically looked at the spatial contiguity principle and the spatial split attention effect to really see like, okay, in what situations does this actually matter for learners and for whom does it actually make a difference?
Gotcha.
Yeah. So our goal today is to kind of cut through all the clutter. There's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, there is.
And really try to figure out what truly works when it comes to designing effective learning materials.
I like it.
All right, so let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So, we've kind of hinted at this idea that, having words and pictures close together makes a difference for how you learn. But what are the like fundamental ideas here?
Yeah.
Like what is it about our brains that actually explains why this makes such a difference?
Right. Well, I think the groundwork for understanding this is really in cognitive load theory.
Okay.
Or CLT.
CLT.
Yeah. And the central idea here is that your working memory, which is the part of your brain that's actively processing new information.
Okay.
It has a very limited capacity.
Okay. So it's like
It's like a mental workspace with only so much room.
okay.
You can only fit so many things in there at once.
Gotcha.
Whereas your long-term memory, on the other hand, can store vast amounts of information.
Okay.
And it organizes all that information into these networks that we call schemas.
Okay.
And so learning at its heart is really about moving information from that limited working memory into your long-term memory and building those helpful schemas.
Okay. So if we overwhelm our working memory with like too much stuff at once,
Exactly.
it's kind of like trying to cram,
Too much into a small space.
too much into a small space, like trying to pour too much water through a tiny little funnel.
Your face can't all get through.
Just can't handle it all at once.
Right. And this is where the split attention effect comes into play, which is a
Right.
really key part of CLT.
Okay.
And it basically says that learning becomes less effective when related pieces of information are presented separately,
Okay.
whether that's separated in space, like on a page or on a screen, or even separated in time.
Oh, okay.
Like if you hear an explanation after you've already seen a visual,
I see.
and this separation forces your brain to work harder
Right.
to mentally connect those pieces.
Let's say you're doing extra work.
Yeah, it's extra mental work. And
Yeah.
and that's what we call extraneous cognitive load.
Okay.
And that load doesn't actually help you learn the material itself.
Right.
It just gets in the way of your understanding.
Gotcha. So like if you're trying to assemble furniture
Right.
and like the instructions are in a totally different room
Exactly.
from all the
They're
parts,
constantly going back and forth.
you're just running back and forth. You're wasting all your energy just like getting to the information
Right.
instead of actually like putting the pieces together.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now we're specifically thinking about, okay, learning from both words and pictures,
Right.
which is so common in multimedia learning, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like almost everything we learn these days is some combination of words and pictures.
Multimodal. Yeah.
Yeah, multimodal.
For sure.
Um, so there's this other theory that kind of builds on CLT called the cognitive theory of multimedia learning, or CTML.
Yeah.
Um, and CTML really focuses on how our brains process information that's coming at us through these different channels,
Yeah.
right? Like our eyes and our ears.
Right.
So what are kind of the main assumptions of CTML?
Yeah. So CTML kind of suggests a few key things.
Okay.
First, echoing CLT, it assumes that your working memory has a limited capacity,
Right, which we already talked about.
which we already talked about.
Like the little funnel.
It's a little funnel, exactly.
Okay.
Second, it proposes that we have two main channels for processing information.
Okay.
A verbal channel for words, whether they're read or heard,
Like?
and a pictorial channel for images.
Okay.
And third, it really emphasizes that for you to really learn deeply,
Yeah.
you need to actively engage in certain mental processes.
Okay.
So it's not just passively looking at pictures and listening to words.
Right.
You actually have to do stuff in your mind to make sense of it.
Right, like actively think about it.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
So these processes involve selecting the relevant information from both the words and the pictures.
Okay.
Organizing that information in a coherent way within each channel.
Okay, so like kind of putting it together in a way that makes sense
Yeah, exactly.
within each of those channels.
Within each channel. Okay.
And then crucially, integrating the organized verbal information with the organized pictorial information to build a mental model.
Okay, so it's like you're taking the pictures and you're like mashing them together in your brain
Exactly.
to create like one cohesive understanding.
The mental representation of whatever you're learning.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's not just passive looking and listening. It's
Yeah.
like you're actively working.
Actively constructing meaning.
Yeah.
To
make
make
sense of this stuff.
Totally.
Okay, so this is where we get into this idea of the spatial contiguity effect.
Right.
And it's really within CTML that this idea kind of comes to life. And as we mentioned, it's very closely linked to that spatial split attention effect from CLT.
Right.
So basically, the spatial contiguity principle is just saying that people learn better when the related words and pictures are physically close to each other
Yeah.
on the page or on the screen, right?
Right.
So we talked about like this idea of an integrated design where the text and the visuals are like physically close together.
Yeah, like they're combined directly.
Yeah, they're like right next to each other.
Yeah.
Versus this idea of a spatially distant design.
Right.
Where they're separated.
Yeah, where you have to like look over here for the text and over here for the picture.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got the foundational ideas down right.
I think so.
We know that working memory is limited.
Yeah.
We know that split attention requires us to do extra mental work.
Right.
And we know that bringing those words and pictures together helps that integration process in our brains.
Right. It makes it more seamless.
Right. Okay, so now let's get into like the real meat of it.
Okay, here we go.
The meta-analysis that you shared.
Yeah. This is the exciting part.
Yeah. So this meta-analysis, look at a ton of research, right?
Yeah. A lot of studies.
Like it wasn't just like one or two studies.
No.
Like it was a lot.
Yeah, it was comprehensive.
So what did the evidence actually show overall about this spatial contiguity effect?
Okay, so the meta-analysis that we're looking at pooled the results from 58 independent studies
Wow.
involving over 2,400 participants.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a really large sample size.
Yeah.
And the overarching finding was really quite clear. Integrated designs generally led to significantly better learning outcomes.
Okay, so like people actually learned better.
Yeah, they actually learned better when the words and pictures were close together.
Okay.
And the researchers calculated an overall effect size.
Okay.
And the overall effect size was G equals 0.63.
Okay. So And I know that might not mean a lot to people who aren't familiar with, like,
With effect sizes.
effect size, yeah.
What?
But in educational research, that's considered a substantial positive effect.
Yeah, that's a big effect.
Like, that's actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
So it's saying that, like, across many different learning situations, having related words and pictures positioned close together really does seem to give learning a boost.
It does.
Okay, so that's pretty significant.
Yeah, it is.
Overall benefit. But the outline that you sent also mentioned that they looked at different factors.
Right.
That might influence how strong this effect is.
Yeah.
So let's start with something that, like, I think we all encounter all the time, right?
Yeah.
Which is just the learning medium.
Okay.
So did it matter if people were learning from physical paper materials
Yeah.
or from a computer screen?
Like a digital environment.
Right, like a digital environment.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And actually, the meta-analysis did uncover a noteworthy difference here.
Oh, good.
And this might be a little bit surprising, but the benefit from integrated designs was actually more pronounced for paper and pencil materials.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they had a larger effect size.
So, like, physical paper is actually better?
Yeah, it was a larger effect size of G equals 0.80
Wow, okay.
compared to computer-based materials, which showed an effect size of G equals 0.50.
Okay, so that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it is a substantial difference.
Yeah. That is really interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And kind of unexpected. Right.
You would think
You would think that digital would be better.
that with all the flexibility of digital environments, it would be easier to integrate text and visuals effectively.
Right.
But that's not what they found.
Yeah, so why do you think that is?
That's a great question. And, the meta-analysis itself doesn't provide like a definitive answer.
Right.
But we can speculate a little bit.
Yeah, like, what are your thoughts?
So perhaps with physical materials, the close proximity is more naturally evident,
Okay.
and it kind of helps maintain your focus.
Okay.
Whereas in digital environments, even if elements are technically on the same screen,
Yeah.
the act of scrolling
Right.
or having different window layouts
Yeah.
or just the presence of more potential distractions might still introduce a form of functional separation.
Yeah, like, even though they're technically on the same screen,
Mm.
your brain's still having to do that extra work
Exactly.
to jump back and forth.
Yeah, it's not as naturally integrated.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting area for future research to kind of explore further.
Totally. And I think that's a good point, even for, like, you as a learner to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, when you're learning from digital materials versus physical materials,
Yeah. Do you find
like,
yourself?
do you find yourself, like, more easily distracted
Maybe.
or less focused
Potentially.
on those integrated elements when you're on a screen?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's something to think about. Okay, so what about the visuals themselves?
Okay.
Did the specific type of image used, like
Right.
whether it was like a 2 diagram versus a 3D model or a photograph,
Mm.
did any of that affect how well the spatial contiguity principle worked?
So, according to this analysis, the type of image didn't significantly alter the effectiveness of integrated designs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they looked at 2 images, 3 drawings, photographs, even combinations of those.
Wow. Okay.
And the benefits of keeping related text nearby were generally consistent across all those types.
Interesting.
It is worth noting, though, that 2D images were the most commonly studied,
Okay.
and they showed a large effect size of G equals 0.71.
Okay.
So it seems like whether you're looking at a simple chart
Yeah.
or a photograph, the key takeaway is really just to keep those explanations close at hand.
Right. To just have them be right there next to each other.
Yeah, nice and close.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good to know.
It is.
It kind of simplifies things a little bit.
It does, yeah.
Now let's think about the complexity of the material itself.
Okay. Yeah.
So the outline that you sent mentions this idea of element interactivity.
Oh, yeah.
So what exactly does that mean?
Okay, so element interactivity refers to how much the different pieces of information that you're learning
Yeah.
need to be understood together as a connected whole.
Okay.
So if the material has low element interactivity,
Right.
you can kind of grasp the individual components in isolation
Okay.
or with just a few other elements.
Gotcha.
But high element interactivity means you really need to understand how many elements connect and interact
Okay.
to make sense of the entire concept.
So it's like the difference between
Like learning individual words
Yeah.
versus learning how to put those words together in a sentence.
Yeah, exactly. Or like learning the individual rules of a game
Yeah.
versus understanding how all those rules interact to create the gameplay.
Right. Okay. So how did this element interactivity
Right.
affect the benefits of spatial contiguity?
Okay, so the meta-analysis found that most of the studies they looked at didn't actually clearly specify the level of element interactivity in their materials.
Oh, okay.
However, in the small number of studies that did report high element interactivity,
Yeah.
the benefit from integrated designs was remarkably large.
Oh, well,
They found an effect size of G equals 1.24.
that's huge.
That's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it really seems like when you're tackling those really complex topics where everything is interconnected.
Right. Keeping those explanations right next to the relevant visuals becomes absolutely crucial for understanding.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But you said only a small number of studies actually looked at this.
Right. And that's why the researchers point out that more research is definitely needed in this specific area
Okay.
to draw more definitive conclusions for different learning contexts.
Yeah, because it seems like a pretty important area to understand,
It does, yeah.
especially as the things we're learning get more and more complex.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, so what about how you actually interact with the material?
Okay.
So did it matter if it was just static information that you were looking at, or if it was more dynamic like an animation,
Yeah.
or even interactive where you could like click and explore different things?
Right. So this is another area where the meta-analysis revealed some pretty intriguing findings.
Okay.
So static learning materials like diagrams on a page or a non-animated slide
Okay.
showed the most significant benefit from integrated designs with a large effect size of G equals 0.68. But surprisingly, interactive materials showed the least benefit with a small but statistically significant effect size of G equals 0.24.
So interactive was actually the worst.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah, that's really counterintuitive
It is.
because you would think that like,
You would think more interactive, more engaging.
right, like that should be helping me learn better.
Yeah, you think it would enhance your learning.
Yeah. So why do you think that is?
Well, the researchers suggest that it might be because when you're engaging with those interactive elements, your cognitive resources are also being used to navigate and control the interaction itself.
Oh, okay.
So you might be focused on like clicking buttons or exploring different options.
Right.
And this could potentially divert some of your attention away from processing the relationship between the text and the visuals, even if they are spatially close.
Oh, so it's like your attention is kind of split.
Exactly. It's like another layer of split attention.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And it really highlights the importance of thoughtful design in interactive learning environments.
Right.
To make sure that that interactivity is actually supporting learning.
Yeah, it's not just there for the sake of being interactive.
Exactly.
It actually have to be designed in a way that helps people learn.
Yeah, it should complement those fundamental learning principles.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about different mediums. We've talked about the complexity of the material.
Yeah.
What about redundancy?
Okay, yeah.
So sometimes learning materials might present like the exact same information
Right.
in both words and pictures.
Right.
So how did that affect the spatial contiguity principle?
Yeah, so the meta-analysis found that the benefit from integrated design was strongest when the text and images were both essential
Okay.
and provided unique complementary information
Cool.
rather than just repeating each other.
Gotcha.
So integrated designs were very effective when the materials were not redundant.
Okay.
They found a large effect size of G equals 0.7,
Oh.
and also when the text could be understood on its own.
Okay.
With a large effect size of G equals 0.60.
Okay.
However, when the diagram was comprehensive enough to be understood on its own, making the text redundant,
Okay.
the benefit of integration was not significant at all.
Oh, wow.
It was only an effect size of G equals 0.26.
Okay, so it's like if the diagram already tells the whole story,
Right.
having the text right there next to it.
Doesn't add anything.
Yeah, it's just kind of like noise.
Yeah, it might actually increase cognitive load.
Yeah, and be distracting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it seems like in order to really benefit from spatial contiguity,
Right.
the text and the visuals need to be working together.
Yeah, they need to each be contributing something unique.
Yeah, like each telling a different part of the story.
Right, and complementing each other.
Yeah, okay. So we've talked about the material itself now. Let's think about who benefits the most from this principle
Okay, yeah.
in terms of age or educational level. So does it work the same way for everyone from like young kids to adults?
So the meta-analysis actually did reveal some pretty interesting patterns related to educational level.
Okay.
So older students, particularly those in post-secondary education,
Okay.
and in grades 9 through 12,
Uh-huh.
appeared to benefit more significantly from integrated designs.
That-
They had large effect sizes of G equals 0.72 and G equals 0.81 respectively.
Okay.
Students in grades 6 through 8 still showed a statistically significant benefit,
Okay.
but it was somewhat smaller with an effect size of G equals 0.43.
Okay.
And notably, the researchers didn't find a statistically significant effect for students in grades K through 5.
Oh, wow. So like really young kids.
Yeah,
It didn't seem to make much of a difference.
right.
Okay. So it sounds like
It sounds like maybe.
the benefits of spatial contiguity become more important
Yeah,
as the complexity of the material increases.
right.
Which would make sense,
They
right?
would, yeah,
Because as you get older, you're learning more complex stuff.
exactly. Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that younger learners benefit more from like other instructional strategies?
It's possible.
Or that the types of visuals and texts that they're using are just inherently like less prone to causing a split attention effect?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
Maybe the materials are simpler, the layouts are simpler.
Yeah.
And so maybe those other instructional strategies are just more effective for them at that age.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it seems like the takeaway here is that
Yeah.
for anyone who's involved in education or learning at different levels,
Right.
this idea of spatial contiguity becomes increasingly important.
The older students get, yeah.
Yeah, as you get older, as the
Yeah.
material gets more complex.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what about the location where these studies were conducted?
Oh, yeah.
Did the region of the world have any influence on the findings?
So this was a really interesting finding, although perhaps less definitive. The location of the study did seem to have some impact on the effect size.
Oh, wow.
So the largest effect was actually observed in a single study that was conducted in Africa,
Okay.
followed by large effects in studies from Australia and New Zealand.
Okay.
Moderate effects were found in studies conducted in Europe and the USA.
Okay, so it does seem like there's some difference.
Yeah, there seems to be some geographical variation.
Yeah, is there any clear reason why that would be?
So it's really tough to say definitively based on just this meta-analysis alone.
Right.
It could be related to differences in educational systems,
Yeah,
cultural learning styles.
Right.
Who knows?
could be so many things.
Yeah, it could be a lot of different factors.
Yeah.
But the researchers themselves acknowledge this, and they suggest that future research should really explore potential moderating variables that might be related to geographical location.
Right, because it's an interesting observation.
It is.
But we don't really know for sure why it's happening.
Right, we need more research.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So what about how learning was actually measured in these studies?
Okay.
So did it matter if they used tests that focused on remembering specific facts?
Right.
So like retention tests?
Yeah,
Versus tests that required you to like apply the knowledge to new situations?
like transfer tests.
Right, like transfer tests. Or did it even matter like the format of the questions, like multiple choice versus open-ended?
So encouragingly, the meta-analysis found that integrated designs helped learning regardless of the type of test that was used to assess that learning.
Oh, wow.
So whether it was a retention test, a transfer test, or a combination of both,
Yeah.
and whether the questions were multiple choice or open-ended, the benefit of having those related words and pictures close together remained consistent.
Okay, so it's not just helping you remember facts.
No, it seems to be supporting a deeper level of understanding.
Right, like you're actually able to use that knowledge.
Right, and apply it in different situations.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It is, yeah. It suggests that it's not just about superficial learning. It's about really understanding and being able to use what you've learned.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really good news for all of us learners out there.
Yeah, it is good news.
What about the amount of time spent learning?
Okay.
So did the length of the learning session influence how effective integrated designs were?
So the analysis indicated that the duration of the learning session within the ranges that they studied
Okay.
didn't significantly change the benefit of integrated designs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and this is interesting because it suggests that integrated designs might not just make learning more efficient,
Well,
like helping you learn faster in a shorter amount of time,
right.
but they might actually contribute to more robust and lasting learning over the long term.
Oh, so like you retain that information better.
Yeah,
Wow.
potentially.
Wow.
But the researchers do point out that a lot of the studies that they examine involved relatively short learning durations.
Okay.
So further research with longer interventions would be valuable to really confirm this.
Okay. So we need more research.
We always need more research.
Yeah.
But it's promising.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
Okay, and just briefly, were there any other factors that were considered in the meta-analysis?
Yeah.
Like, I know they mentioned things like how participants were recruited for the studies,
Right.
or whether they received incentives to participate.
Yeah.
Did any of that seem to make a difference in the findings?
So according to the meta-analysis, neither the recruitment method nor the incentives significantly altered the main findings.
Okay, so those things didn't really seem to matter.
No, they didn't seem to have a big impact.
Okay, great. So to kind of bring it all together, for me, the learner,
Right.
who's sitting here trying to make sense of all this multimedia information,
Yeah.
especially when it involves diagrams and text, what's the most important thing that I should take away about how that information is presented visually?
Okay, so the central message for you is to be mindful of how the information is spatially arranged.
Okay.
The evidence strongly indicates that those integrated designs where the text and the visuals are close together.
Are generally more effective for learning
Okay.
across a wide variety of subjects and age groups,
Okay.
although maybe less so for very young learners.
Right. We talked about that.
And in those interactive digital environments where your attention might be divided.
Right. Where you're clicking on things.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So on a really practical level,
Yeah.
when I'm looking at my own study materials or if I'm trying to evaluate some online learning resources,
Right.
I should actively be looking for this integration
Yes.
of text and visuals.
Look for that close proximity.
Yeah. And if I'm noticing that they're separated,
Yeah.
I should at least be aware that my brain might have to put in some extra effort to connect them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that extra cognitive effort is energy that could be better spent on really engaging with and understanding the core concepts.
Right, like you're wasting energy
Yeah, you're wasting brain power.
on just like the logistics of it all.
Exact.
Instead of actually understanding,
Right.
okay, wow, this has been incredibly illuminating.
It's fascinating stuff.
It's really cool to kind of dig into this research and see that like
Yeah.
this seemingly simple aspect of design can have such a huge impact on how effectively we learn.
It can. It really can.
So for one final thought for you, the listener, to really kind of ponder,
Yeah.
considering these findings, what specific changes might you actively look for?
Yeah.
Or even try to implement in your own learning habits?
Yeah. In your own learning.
Or even when you're like sharing information with other people?
Right. When you're creating materials for
Yeah,
others.
to try to really maximize understanding and long-term retention.
That's a great question to consider. Maybe you'll start to organize your notes in a different way,
Right.
where you're keeping explanations right alongside your sketches or diagrams.
Right, like physically writing them close together.
Right, exactly. Or maybe you'll become more discerning when you're choosing online learning platforms
Well-
and favoring the ones